What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the rePORTER Show. It's another episode where we don't have the full crew. You know, some things happen. It is what it is. I hope my boy Tuck doing all right. But I got Dev on my left today. We had a lot of good events happen this last week. We had some very, anticlimactic events as well with women's wrestling. I thought that was going to be a nice little show to go to, but ended up being a show full of forfeits. It was a little disappointing, but we do have some good news for women's wrestling, but we'll get to that after we get to men's wrestling. So we're going to start this one off with men's wrestling. Men's wrestling also had that duels match against Tarleton and Jarvis. As you know, men's wrestling, before going into this week, they were 11-2 with a lot of impressive wins, and there were no rankings since then. And now that I'm saying that, I just realized, no. I don't think their rankings don't come out until this week. The women's came out last week.
Because it's different, right?
Yeah, it's different. Okay. So I think this week, hopefully this week, some things change around. But, of course, we won't see that by the time this drops. But, anywho, you already know the rundown: 149, 10th ranked Alex Pena at 197. John Bray ranked 20th and at 285. Emmett Bimmich ranked 24th. Those have been our top three guys all year. They sort of just dropped and went up and dropped and went up. So they're sort of staying in that same area. But like I said, going back to the team duels, 11-2 on the year going into this. And then they had a matchup against Jarvis to start off the night. And boy, I can't tell you how many forfeits there were. I think it was 5 or 6. It was just forfeit after forfeit after forfeit. And if you know the team duels head-to-head match, it's only 10 matchups. So if you forfeit 5 matches, why did you come here?
Yeah, there's no point in even
you know what I'm saying?
The best to compete.
It really ain't. But, I mean, I guess, they need a little tune-up. I think they have
maybe they wanted
to
have some guys' stats hopefully boosted.
Maybe, man, maybe. I think wrestling has – I can't find it. I'll have to look for that later, but I think wrestling – is almost done with their regular season. I think they're going into postseason very soon, and it's not this upcoming week, but like you said, it's in a couple weeks. And I wish that the Wi-Fi here was working a little bit quicker because I'd be able to check that out. But right now I can't. So let's go ahead and get into the matches. Like I said, they had a bunch of forfeits against Jarvis. So this one was a given. They won 60-0. So the matches that they did have, all 5 matches that we did have were won by pin. So I'm not even going to go too much into that. As you can tell, we dominated, and there was no competition on the mat.
Not at all.
There was no competition on the mat.
I don't think Jarvis should even bother.
No, not at all.
Spending that money coming here, but I mean, it is what it is. Make us look a little better.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I think what's good is that you can tell that our guys, and that might be a little different with wrestling because even though it's a team sport, it's also individual, and so it's easier for you yourself to say, I'm not going to slack up, like, I'm not going to come out here just because I know we're going to win. Yeah. I'm still going to dominate.
For sure.
And
we did.
Everybody came out there and got a pin. So, like, that's the most you can ask for. Okay, it's finally loaded for me. So, I was correct. The next matchup that wrestling has is going to be the SAC tournament. So, and that's February 22nd. So, in the upcoming week, not this one, but next. So, that'll be some good things to see. Then they had a matchup against Tarleton. Now, Tarleton is one of those teams where they're a D1 wrestling team, but they're not official. So they're almost like, the situation where I was talking about with women's wrestling, where they have the teams.
D1 isn't necessarily D1.
Exactly. So they have a wrestling club. It's not an official team yet.
Oh, wow.
So I'm assuming that most of those guys are not on scholarship. They're just there wrestling. Now, don't get me wrong. They still got talent. They still got talent because we started out this night 16-0. 16-0. So there was a rough way to start, but what I will say is it's not like we ain't been there before. There's been a couple of times this year, over the course of the year, where we started off rough, but then we came out and finished the rest of the way, and that's exactly what happened tonight, man. It was a great match to end the night on, especially after seeing forfeit after forfeit after forfeit on the men's and the women's side, and then for them to end the match this way, it was just exciting to see. Of course, 10th ranked Alex Pena started it all off, winning by tech fall. So he really handled his opponent. There were a lot of matches.
Turn the momentum a little bit.
Yeah, it did turn the momentum a little bit. And the big thing is, a lot of these matches were really tight matches. So this was one of those matches that it was just like, he's no competition. Like, this guy is no competition for who we got. But the rest of the way, man, it was hard fought. Josh Camillo battled to a last-second win by decision. And when I say last second, I mean last second. Like, it was like 5 to 10 seconds left on the clock, and he ended up pulling out the win.
Oh, wow.
Getting a takedown. So, the gym was thumping. Everybody in there was screaming, jumping up and down. It was a really exciting win to watch.
Crowd on their feet.
Exactly. So, Josh had a big win there. And so then, of course, we brought it back within a reasonable range to come back and win this thing. And then Ethan came out, and he grinded out a win. It was one of those slow developing matches where you were just like, all right, is he going to get it? Is he not? I think they went through the first round with no score. But then he ended up winning by decision 8-2. And then Malachi came out and got a very, very, very important win. And he got it by pin, which is big because that's 6 points. So that brought us back to 17-20. So we were down 16-0. And that win brought it to 17-20. So now all we need is a basic win to tie it and then another basic win to win it. But we wanted to do more than that. John Bray came up, ranked 20th in the nation, and he followed it up with another pin to put us up 23-20 going into the last match. Now, 9 times out of 10, if you're going into the last match with us and you're down, you probably ain't going to win. You know why? Because we got Emmett Bivens.
Boy, hey.
That boy is something he ain't nothing to play with. First of all, Tarleton had a dude that was, what I'm saying? He was stout. Yeah. And when he was against Jarvis, he looked huge. But when he wrestled against Emmett, he looked like he was a regular old dude. So that just goes to show you, in terms of size, Emmett is a big old dude, and bruh can handle it at any time. And it's just like he got down to the mat tonight, and what does he do? He gets a pin as well. He handled business. And so we won 29-20 after being down 16-0.
I mean, that's just a perfect example of locking in.
It is.
So we got our back against the wall against. I mean, it's like we said, not necessarily a D1, but a D1, a team with talent. And Alex, Josh, Ethan, Malachi, John, Emmett all stepped up to the plate and battled back and finished the job.
I did. It was really good to see. It was exciting to watch, especially for it being senior night for men's and women's. And a lot of the last matches that we'll see before they go into the conference tournament, I don't think they have any more tune-up matches. I think all of them are going to be comparing for conference tournament now. So they've been locking in, but it's really time to lock in now because this is where you want to be at. This is where you want to be at the end of the year. You want to have your best. And speaking of the best, let's go ahead and jump into women's wrestling. You know why I want to speak of the best? Because women's wrestling has all of their high-powered wrestlers back now. And it's the perfect time to have them back because, like I said, they're going into the conference tournament. Yeah, they're going into that crunch time season. And the biggest thing that I want to talk about is the new rankings. We moved up to 12th. We were 19th. Now, you notice that we lost some team duels, but I think I'm starting to pick up on what determines a ranking for a team. What determines a ranking for a team isn't always the head-to-head team duels. I think it's how many girls you have ranked nationally.
Like more of an individual thing.
So it adds up by where your girls are placed, and points are based off of that, and then that determines your ranking. Now, that doesn't make sense for the men's because when we talked about the men's, it wasn't always the team stuff. It was the individuals that were being moved down, even though they were winning individually. Now, that is a completely different story.
That's still confusing me. I don't think I'm ever going to understand that.
That won't ever make sense. But this is starting to make sense to me just a little bit because now that I see we're ranked 12th, and it wasn't because of the winning team duels because we didn't do that other than just this past week. But the amount of girls that we have ranked nationally now is a lot. And I'm going to get into that right now. At 103, Mallory Dominguez was ranked 16th in the nation. She has moved up to 13. At 124, Tess Barnett was ranked 20th, which is the last place you can be ranked. She ended up dropping out of that top 20. At 131, I said that unless there is somebody at number 1, I don't think they can really deny her of number 1, and I'm talking about Mercy, because she moved up to 2nd in the nation off of just 1 week of wrestling. Ain't that crazy?
Lord
she came in here,
boy.
bro.
Lord have mercy, boy.
Bro, she came in here. Yeah, bro. She came in here, transferred in. Was here for probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Went to one tournament, And now she ranked second in the nation.
So this is my league.
Yeah,
this,
on
this,
me.
This is my
honestly.
this
and I think second was honestly just, they're just holding her off just a little bit because she's going to be number one. Mm-hmm. Let's be for real. I don't think there's a lot of girls at this level that are going to hang with her. No, it's not going to happen. And then at 138, Jordan Suarez, ranked 6th in the nation, has moved up to 4th, back to where she was before she got injured. I think her highest ranking throughout this season was either 3rd or 4th. I can't remember, but she's back. Yeah, she's back where she needs to be.
Back up there, for sure.
Exactly. And then at 160, Mahogany Castle, who was ranked 17th in the nation, has moved up to 15th in the nation. At 180, Audrey Lockhart, who was ranked 15th, has dropped out of the top 20. And then at 207, 12th ranked in the nation, Leilani Sanchez stayed the same. But the biggest thing, like I said last week as well, at 207, we have 2 girls ranked now. At number 12, like I said, Leilani Sanchez, but at number 13 is Faith Woolley. So right there, back to back, right behind each other. So that's big. And so that's probably why we moved up to 12th in the nation.
We have so many.
We have so many now. So going into the team duels this week that they had, like I said, man, it was very anticlimactic.
A little disappointing because you want to see a show.
You want to see a show,
man. You want to see a show, and especially with
senior
night. With the talent that we have.
Come on, man.
Like, you expecting us to go out there and handle business, and then they're not even gonna let us have competition. Come on, man.
They just kept calling the girls' names, and they raised that on forfeit. I'm like, dog.
Hey, whoever was gonna get mercy saw the stats.
I mean, hey,
had to see the stats.
I wouldn't want to wrestle her.
Nah.
I'm not even lying to y'all. Y'all think I might be gassing, but I'm gonna keep it a bean.
Nah. Out there
I would not want to. They of course beat both of their teams by 50. Versus Tarleton, it was 50-0. Versus Jarvis, it was 50-0.
Brought the brooms out.
Yeah, I mean,
just couldn't bring the brooms.
I mean, but when you forfeit that much, between the 2 duels, there were a total of 16 forfeits. 16.
Little disappointing.
Very disappointing, man.
Nothing we could do about it. But
yeah, it really ain't.
We wanted to see our team go out there and handle business.
We did get to see a couple of top dogs wrestle, though. Jordan Suarez ended up wrestling twice that night, and she won both of her matches, of course, dominating. 2 wins, both by pin. At 160, Mahogany Castle, she won her match by pin. And at 180, Leilani Sanchez won her match by pin. So, the whole night,
as expected,
was full of pins.
As expected.
Full of pins. But that's all we have for women's wrestling, man. It was honestly a great regular season. It was a great regular season. I know it wasn't the type of regular season that you wanted to see in terms of team duels, because they did not have the best year in terms of team duels. But men's wrestling had a great year in team duels. And women's wrestling had a lot of individual statistics that really light up the stat sheet.
A lot of wins to take from it, despite the disappointment from the team aspect.
Yeah,
of
the
it.
team aspect. You're absolutely
but
right.
Individually, people are out there handling business, doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Really going out there and, dominating, essentially. And I think they have a lot to go prove coming into this conference tournament and moving forward.
They do. I think also because they're now going to have the target on their back. They moved up above the girls that were ranked above them in our conference. Oklahoma City and Texas Wesleyan, I believe. And if I'm wrong on that, I'm sorry. But I just looked at it, so
those girls going to be hungry, and our girls got a title to defend pretty much.
Absolutely. And hopefully we can get our first title in I don't know how many years. I don't think women's wrestling has won the conference tournament in recent years. I know they probably have before. Now, I haven't checked that history, so I also might be wrong on that, but I will check that for next show. But as of right now, I don't think that they have won it in recent years, so that'll be a nice thing to see if they go out there and they handle their business.
Which I think we have.
Yeah,
we got
the firepower.
Yeah, most definitely.
We definitely do, and the same thing for the men's. I think with the upsets that they've had, they both came over conference tournament, conference opponents, and so they're going into the conference tournament facing those same guys.
Hungry.
Now, those guys are going, you know what I'm saying, they're going to want their get back.
Yeah,
but I really feel like we're going into it on a really high note. Finishing the year 13-2, 3 top 25 wins and 1 against a D1 opponent. So they're doing their thing, both men's and women's. Now, speaking of winter sports that are doing their things, let's move on to women's basketball. Women's basketball had a matchup against Southwestern Christian, and Southwestern Christian didn't stand a chance. It was a great game all around, defense and offense. And so let's go ahead and get into the beginning of it. In that first half, down low was the go-to. We worked them so hard in the paint, they could not stop it.
Straight paint dominance.
Paint dominance. But what I want to talk about is I need y'all to see that little move that did you see that move that Brooklyn put? Like, you gotta see.
Hurtado, spin.
You know what I'm saying? You know, yeah, a nice little move,
good.
there. I like that move from Brooklyn. I think what I really like about Brooklyn's game is the fact that so many people put so much pressure on Megan when she's in the game that when she comes out, they think that they can chill now. And it's like, you can't, because we still got somebody that's going to have a presence in the paint.
And I'm going to say this, like, at the beginning of the year, that might have been the case.
It was.
But the amount of development that you've seen from Brooklyn in her role and being that support for Megan, you know what I mean? When Megan can't get the ball rolling, you know what I'm saying, and doing what she does, Brooklyn comes in and cleans it up a little bit, you know what I'm saying?
She does. And the biggest thing about that is, for one, I want to shout out Brooklyn for doing the work to make sure that she does that. But I also want to shout out the coaches because coaching has a lot to do with development.
Most definitely. We saw it with Megan.
Yeah, exactly.
We saw it with Megan. We saw it with Megan. We saw it with Brooklyn. So
they know how to do it. They know how to do
Coach Hunter, all y'all, you know what I mean?
Exactly. So shout out to all of y'all. But like I said, down low was the thing. And honestly, who else started showing off? Caitlin. But this time, I want to talk about Caitlin defensively. I think we talk so much about her scoring the ball. We don't realize how much of a
defensive presence.
Defensively, exactly.
And it may not even be like in terms of every game, like on the ball defensive energy. She's such a leader on the court. It's like you feed off of that. So when she's doing her thing defensively, the whole team picks up, man. And speaking of that, we had some different offense tonight. Normally she's the facilitator, but tonight, it was Emily. She was getting it from beyond the arc and hitting from the left, the right. It didn't matter where she was. She was getting open, and they was leaving her open. I didn't. She really hasn't been shooting as much
hasn't
for
been.
years.
She hasn't
She's been
been
driving and facilitating.
But she was 3 for 3 in just the second quarter. I think she was the leading scorer going into the half before the little injury. But hopefully she's all right. I don't think she played it the next game, so she should be. You know,
it was just a little tweak.
A little tweak. But yeah, you know that was good to see because nothing against her, but she's normally not the scorer. She's normally the person that's facilitating the ball, getting the offense going, and then she has her weapons around her that do the scoring. But that night she was hit. She had 13 points, like I said at the half, 3 for 4 from the 3-point line, and that helped us get out to a huge lead. We were up 47-23. That wasn't a surprise, though. Wasn't really a surprise. Southwestern Christian is at the bottom of the conference, and so I was hoping that they would come in here and handle business, and that's exactly what they did. In the second half, Caitlin took over, adding 15 points in the second half to finish up with 26 points. Of course, she's the player of the game. That was her 5th straight game with 20 or more points. Speaking of that, remember what Tuck said last week when he said, I feel like since Langston, she sort of turned it on? Literally, that's what it was. I went back and checked the stats. The game after Langston, I can't remember who it was, but she had 12 in that game. But every game after that, she's had 20 or more points.
And honestly, like, I mean, I'm going to agree with what Tuck said. I mean, to me, Langston, yes, although they're a good team, to me, it's not a team that we should lose to. Nope. I think we just, I mean, this is going back to that game, but, like, just got so caught up in that energy and stuff like that and lost focus.
We did.
That loss helped us shake back so much where we are fully locked in now. And everybody is doing their thing. Like we mentioned, Brooklyn stepping up, doing her thing. Emily, who doesn't normally score the ball as much as she did or shoot the ball as much as she did, is able to do that. You know what I'm saying? Take some of the weight off Peyton's shoulders or Linda's or Bobby's or Caitlin's. It don't matter. You know what I mean? Everybody on this team is a genuine weapon, a genuine threat on the court. And, I mean, we're seeing that clearly here.
We are. And Megan also finished up with 21 and 15, so she had a big game as well. But this time around, it was from the free throw line. I think her game, Tuck again talked about it, because of how many more weapons we have around her now, it doesn't seem like she's producing the same as she did last year, but she's still averaging more points than she did last year, and it don't even seem like it.
And to me, I'm gonna agree with that because it does not.
It does not seem like it. But she's still
near as dominant as it was.
Exactly, but the point, the stats don't lie. I mean, she's doing better than she did last year.
That is crazy.
Simply based off of the stats. If you see that, she's doing better than she did last year.
I mean, sometimes it's, getting to the line and stuff like that. So from a visual perspective, hasn't seemed much of a dominant year for me. But, I mean, statistically,
she's still
getting the job done.
She's still getting the job done.
And realistically, the shots that she was getting last year when she wasn't getting fouled, I mean, they put them 90s Pistons rules on her. You know what I'm saying? they out there hacking her and everything. So, I mean, it's great to see that she's finishing from the line as well. Yeah. And everybody's getting the job done.
Yeah, I think it's really important for them to have that whole team really start rolling because, as we know, winter sports is coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
This is all going into the heat of the season now. You're going into postseason play. You got your conference tournament coming up, and honestly,
They'll make the national tournament.
yeah, they're gonna make the national tournament. But what I think is important for them is the fact that they have to focus on the conference tournament, though. Even though they know we good, you still have to focus on the conference tournament.
Conference shit bet, you know.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. That'd be a good thing to have, and they're
it's
gonna
gonna be.
host. Yeah,
Yeah,
you know they're gonna host.
But the host that first round, but in the
Yeah.
tournament,
In the tournament, yeah, they got to go to Langston.
who will probably be the
Yeah.
championship game.
Yeah,
So they have to keep this momentum going throughout the rest of the
They
this
do.
regular season, and use that going into postseason play, and where we expect them to be the conference championship.
Yeah.
And go out there and handle business at that point.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's exactly what they did. They went into their next matchup against Oklahoma City, and Peyton North got it started quick. She was raining from three.
Per usual.
Per usual, honestly.
Per usual.
And you know what's?
It's not a surprise anymore.
I know we say this so often, but it is crazy how many different weapons.
And it's
That-
not even that. It's how many of them have been developed
Yeah,
into
man.
weapons.
Yeah,
Like
bro.
from role player to starter to a
Yeah.
genuine and becoming a genuine
Yeah.
3-point threat.
Yeah.
A great defensive asset. Like
The recruiting process, they do a fantastic job.
fantastic
A
job.
fantastic job because you think like, okay, you go through those years where you lose a star player and you're like, okay, they probably gonna have like a rebuild year.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to nope. They right there.
Straight back to it.
They're better than they were last year.
Mm-hmm.
And they lost some players.
Mm-hmm.
But they better than they were last year.
Because of that development.
Because of the development. And because of the players that they recruit, they have people that come in here and they know that they're gonna have to wait.
Mhm.
And they're gonna have to develop, like you said, their game and then get their opportunity. And when they get their opportunity, they make the most of it
And
every
it's,
time.
I mean, from what we can see,
Yeah.
it's players with good mentality,
Yeah.
great energy, great work ethic. It's not players that come in here and think,
I
I'm
should be a
good.
starter.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I should be a starter. If I'm not a starter, I'm gonna quit giving effort.
Yeah,
No,
or I'ma leave.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not wasting my time here. I'm not
Yeah.
even gonna get looked at for playing.
Mhm.
Nah, we don't have players like that. We have players who come in. All right, I gotta earn my spot.
Yeah.
I gotta earn my minutes.
Yeah.
And even the ones who, whether you get your spot taken or you're seeing less minutes, despite that, still coming in and being very, very efficient.
Yeah.
For this team.
And speaking of efficiency, the team as a whole was shooting very well. And then we came out in the second quarter and the defense just took it to a whole nother level. We had 4 steals this quarter, but we also had a lot of other forced turnovers. I think they had 8 in the second quarter. Oklahoma City did, and we opened it up to 44-27. So another game where we up by more than 15 before the half. What I will say though is, when we came out in the third quarter, we were slipping a little bit. The OKC slowly decreased this lead, and they outscored us 21-13 in the third quarter. So it was a little bit different in the second half. And
A
it
little
was-
lackadaisical.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we just weren't hitting our shots. We came out in the fourth quarter though, and we picked it back up, and we finished with a dominant win, 76-60. The player of this game was Caitlin.
Once again.
Caitlin again dropped another 20 balls, 6 straight. Peyton had 15 points and 5 assists. So big game for the both of them, and they're gonna need each and every one of these girls as they head into this postseason. I know they got 3 more regular season games. They're gonna,
on the road.
yeah, they're 2 on the road, and then a great way to finish the season with MACU at home. MACU at home. And now what I will say though is I don't think that race is tight with MACU anymore. It was MACU, Langston, and us for the longest time, but MACU's dropped a couple of games. So now at the top, I really think it's just Langston and us. On the women's side, as you can see right here, 19-1 for Langston in the conference. We're 19-2. I don't know if Langston is gonna make up their game that they missed.
What game was it?
I don't remember, but remember when I asked Tuck like why like there was a difference in the amount of games played.
I think on the men's side it's the same as well.
It's the same because Langston, both men's and women's, had to postpone the
Yeah.
game. So I don't know if they're gonna make that up, but I feel like they should. I feel like that's important, especially
important.
in a ranking like this that's decided by one game.
Yeah.
It's decided by one game, and we split the regular season. So I don't know how they're gonna decide that, but like I said, we're 19-2, and as you can see, next closest to us is 15-4, and they're a couple games behind. That's only 19 games played, and we played 21.
Yeah.
So I don't know how this is all gonna shake out, but all I know is we need to handle our business.
Most definitely.
And that's really all there is to that. So going into the next game, that was the last game for women's basketball that week. But what I wanted to say was, since Kaylin has been on this tear, I've noticed that every night that she scored that, there's been a different top scorer with her in every game. And that is not typical to see on a team. And so I think that if they continue to do that, do you know how hard it is to draw up a defensive plan?
Because you're not going to stop everybody.
That? Yeah.
You're not stopping everybody.
Who are you going to focus on?
Exactly.
You can say, hey, we're going to focus on Caitlin. Okay, well, now you got Megan down low.
And if you're going to focus...
let's focus on Megan.
Kick it out.
Now you got Caitlin, and you got Emily, and you got Peyton. And every now and then, I know we haven't talked about her in a long time, but she still has that opportunity to do it, and I think the postseason is going to be that time where you see it. Remember Theodore at the beginning of the year? Where she had like 3 or 4 games where she was dropping like 15 or more points? I think that's going to come back real quick, real soon. And so that's all we got for women's basketball. They had a great week. Let's take it on to men's basketball. Men's basketball also had a matchup against Southwestern Christian. And in that first half, the offense was moving the ball exceptionally well. And I want to talk about Nico because I don't think people recognize what he does for that team on the court.
It's not flashy.
It's not flashy.
It's that. And
it doesn't always show up on the stat sheet.
Nah.
But that man moves the ball. He moves the ball, and not only does he move the ball, he's almost directing the offense.
He has a very fundamental play style, but it's good because it's controlled.
It is.
It's controlled.
And with him sort of choreographing a lot of things down low, he was opening up a lot more shots for us beyond the arc, and we were hitting. We were 49% from the field, 39% from the 3 in this first half. We had a 30-point lead. 30-point lead going into the half. And as you can imagine, we would run away with this one. I don't know a lot of teams that's going to blow a 30-point lead.
Nah.
Now, it's happened, but we ain't going to do that.
That ain't us.
I want to talk about some things that really, really went well for us. 22 offensive rebounds. 17 second chance points. Forced 18 turnovers. 26 points off of those turnovers. And we had 27 assists. That's the most we've had all year.
I didn't even realize that.
That's why I said that ball was moving, dog. That ball was moving. We won this game 89-63, and the player of the game, that boy Brett. That boy starting to heat up.
He was shooting.
My mama. That boy got 20. He had 29 points, and he was 7 for 11 from the 3-point line.
And not only that, the tough buckets he was getting at the rim too.
I don't even know. You know what I'm talking
exactly.
about. Exactly. I don't know how he did that one. I don't know how he did that one. But
I said, ain't no way.
No, bro.
If I'm the defense, I might just go ahead and quit right there. Cause
I did not, and I don't want to underestimate the man, but I didn't know that was his game. I knew he was a shooter, but the way he was getting buckets down low, I was like, when you start doing that?
Oh no, he's had that in his bag. You just wasn't
I wasn't familiar with his game.
Nah,
That's on me. That's on me. Oh, I hit my mic. My fault. But anywho, the man had 29 points, so it was a big game from Brett. It was a really big win for the men's team, and it was really needed because since the winter break, we haven't had our best foot forward. And so a dominant win like that, being up by 30 at one point, having the highest amounts and some of the stats that you've had over the course of this year, that's what you want to see when you're going into the end of the season. And then we went into the game against Oklahoma City, and we turned the clock back. We had a terrible start. It was a terrible start. Terrible. If I could think of another word worse than terrible, atrocious. If I could think of another word for worse than atrocious, I would say it because it was that bad. And y'all think I'm over exaggerating, but
had me flabbergasted.
Bro, we had like 1 point after
there.
10 minutes of play. 1 point? Are you kidding me?
No, that was. I don't know how to explain it. It was like
I needed some explanation because I couldn't tell.
It looked like
I don't know what was going wrong. All I knew was we was missing shots.
And it didn't look like us.
No.
It looked like on Space Jam.
Something.
When they
took the power from us.
They took the power, bro. That's what happened.
Something happened. I really didn't understand it because what was rough to see was not only were we not hitting our shots, but then we were getting to the free throw line and still missing. And so I don't know at what point in this game things turned around, but I looked up at the scoreboard and we had a 10-point lead at one point. And I was like, I don't know when that happened, but I'm glad it did because
Coach got on him, boy.
I can imagine that boy.
Coach got on him.
I already know.
Coach appreciate that because had us a little scared.
Yeah, they had me scared. I looked up. I was like, man, we got 1 point still.
Yeah.
It's been a couple of minutes now. We still
Had
at
to
one.
lock in. You know, like when you playing 2K, you sit up. Gotta lock.
Yeah,
Yep. Gotta lock in
absolutely.
real
I feel
quick.
you, I
That's
feel
exactly
you.
what happened.
But OKC did put up a fight for a couple of minutes in that second half. They tried to bring it back, but it was nothing when we started hitting from deep. We started raining threes. I think that was the most attempts we've taken all year. It was either this game or the game before that. I can't remember which game it was, but one of these games, we took the most attempts from the three-point line that we've taken all year. And it wasn't like we was jacking them up and missing. We was jacking them up and hitting. I think we were 9 for 18 from the three in the second half. So 50% from the field. 50% from the three-point line.
You had that boy out there.
You know. Brett gonna hit. Brett had another 20 ball as well. So Caitlin and Brett on a streak of 20 balls. Brett had 22.
And I want to say this, and this is kind of going back like as a reflection of previous games. We relied on Q a lot very early in the season.
Brett.
Relied on him way too much early in the season, and I think that a couple of these games that we've lost, that in my opinion we shouldn't have lost, we relied on that, and that was to me that was a killer right there. But it's great to see players like Brett stepping up and handling business. Last game almost having a 30 ball. This game having another 20
Wasn't
ball.
Brett injured earlier in this season?
A little bit, I believe.
Okay.
But also players like Alex and stuff like that too.
That's a big plus.
Yes, very big plus. When he's locked in and out there doing his thing and hustling and hitting shots, it looks great.
There was a point in the season where if Q didn't score 20 or more points, we were losing. And in these past 2 games, I don't think he's came near 20. And if he has, I'm sorry that I'm wrong on that stat, but I don't think that he's
because
hit 20.
it's not like he's out there slacking either. He's still doing his thing.
No, he's still doing his thing. But I'm saying though, it's just good, like you said, that we can do it without him having a blown up game where he got to go for 30. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what it used to be. But now
that's what it needed to be.
Yeah, that's what it needed to be.
It needed to be.
But now we got guys all the way around that can support him. And if he catches fire too, then that's just even worse for you. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
At that point, you better hope that boy ain't shooting because we still got other people around him that's gonna be shooting.
So go ahead and call Donnie Brown and ask him to pray for him.
Something, because them boys
they gonna need something.
It's starting to heat up a little bit, and if they can cut out these slow starts, because they've had a couple of them in the recent weeks, they've had a couple of slow starts. If they can cut out these slow starts, they're gonna be a team where you feel very confident about them going into any game. Doesn't matter who they're playing against. Because if you can cut out the slow start, you don't have to worry about fighting out of a hole. Fighting out of a hole takes a lot of your energy away. And then you get to the second half, and now you ain't got no energy to win the game. So I'm glad that they handled their business. They went into this game, and they won 78-60. Both men's and women's handled their business this past week, going 4-0 over the week combined as they go into these last 3 games. Now, for men's, it's a very different story because those standings are very tight.
Very tight.
Especially for MacU, because MacU wasn't in the picture at first. MacU is now second in the conference standings. Right above us, a game behind. They got a weird schedule, too. They've only played 19 games, but we played 21. So, like I said, it's a little weird how everything shakes out. I don't know how that's going to work throughout the end of the season. Maybe our season is cut short.
Yeah, maybe we end early.
Maybe we end early.
And they got another week.
Yeah, and they got another week of ball, which would
even it out.
You know what? Let me ask you this. Since we got a little time. If that is the case, and we have a week of where we just prepare and watch, do you think that's better or worse for your team going into the playoffs?
I think it's better because you're prioritizing the playoffs or the postseason play.
Okay.
You get that break to genuinely lock in. And yes, I do see the perspective of you ain't played a game in a while. You ain't played a game in a while.
That's my thing.
But when you're, and this is a matter of, I guess, self-accountability. If you're locked in and effort is high throughout that break, energy's high, attention to detail is very high, then I think you'll be fine. You're able to rest your body a little bit more because you're going to play games, you're going to travel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you have the ability to take advantage of it. It's just a matter of taking advantage of that opportunity.
I've just seen so many teams that have the break, it doesn't benefit them. Because if you're a baseball person and you watch the World Series, those teams that get those first-round byes, they don't do well. The teams that got the first-round byes in the college football playoffs, they didn't do well. There's teams in March Madness when the tournament comes around that get upset by 15 and 16 ranked teams because they've been playing. You know what I'm saying? And so I just hope that ain't the case for us. Because if we do get that week off and there's other teams that are still playing their regular season games to finish out, I just hope, like you said, we take
advantage
of that opportunity and we go into the next week on fire. Let's go ahead and jump into baseball. Baseball had a matchup against Southwest. It was sort of like a midweek series. Really weird. Normally we do Friday, Saturday. We played 2 on Friday and 1 on Saturday, or 2 on Friday and 2 on Saturday. But this time we played 2 on Thursday and 1 on Friday against Southwest. So sort of like a midweek matchup. I mean, we lost the series 2-1. Now, I know I talked about it last year because I think we lost to them a couple of times last year as well. And I was like, we don't lose to Southwest. Now, what I will say is this team is better. They do have a really good team, but I still don't think we should have lost. By the way that we've played, I think there's just some things that we don't take care of when we need to take care of it. In Game 1, Southwest had a hot start. We didn't get a great start from our starting pitcher, and I'm not going to do no name calling because I don't want to call nobody out like that, but he's had a couple of rough starts to start the season. Guys just teeing him up. So that'll be something that hopefully we can get control of because you always want your Game 1 guy to come out there and handle business. Because if you can get Game 1, it sets the tone and it takes a little bit of pressure off of you if you can get Game 1 done. So,
and if you got there and dominate, you kind of put a little fear in their heart.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And so we really, hopefully, we can figure that out with the Game 1 situation. And they continue to hit well. We helped them out a little. Well, I say a little. We helped them out a lot. We had 5 errors. So that's a terrible game defensively. So combine all of that. Momentum ain't going to be on your side. We ended up losing that one 8-3, like I said. But we came out in Game 2, and we had the energy that we needed to have because we opened it up in the top of the third. In the top of the third, we scored 9 runs with 2 outs. It was 1-0 with 2 outs, and then next thing you know, just everything just went crazy.
So what's pressure?
It started off with a double that was a 3 RBI double. The bases were loaded at this point in time. So they was running. They scored all 3 runs. So Memo had a big double here. And then after Memo's double, then Delvis comes up after an error, and he makes him pay 2-run shot. 2-run shot. So don't make no errors. Don't make no errors because if you make an error, you're going to give us more opportunities to score. And then we come up, BP comes up, he hits a 3-run shot. I think that's correct. Let me make sure I say that correctly. Yeah, it was a 3-run home run. And that made it 10-0 in the 3rd inning. So
that crushed their soul.
That crushed them. We ended up winning this one 15-1. So, like I said, once you get down like that, it's really hard to come back. And so that's why it's important as a pitcher that you come out and you handle your business through those first couple of innings because it takes a little bit of pressure off of you. When you get big innings like this, it's hard for you to come back. It's not impossible. Teams do it. But it's hard. It's really hard. So we won that game. And then Brandon had a really good game. He threw a complete game. He only allowed 1 run on 7 strikeouts, 3 walks, and 5 hits. So shout out to you, Brandon, for having a big game like that. Game 3, though, we came out, and it was a decent game for the most part. It was tied 4-4 for a long time. We didn't get another great start from our starter, but it was nothing like bad. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like it blew up on us. We got him out of there before it got bad. And our bats were hot in the second. Samuel came up. He hit a 3-run home run that tied it. So then it was 4-4. It was tied 4-4 at the top of the 6th. But then we got in some trouble. We had to go to the bullpen. And one thing led to another. They hit a 3-run bomb. 7-4 them. They ended up winning the game. Tough way to lose. I think,
especially coming off a game like you had the previous game.
Thank you.
15-1.
I wish I could harp on that a little bit more, but we do have to move on. What I want to say about that, though, is Samuel's warming up. Series stats, 6 for 9 with 7 RBIs. So he had a couple of cold streaks in the first couple of games, 5 or 6 games, that you just didn't see him.
Didn't look himself.
Yeah, he didn't look like himself, but this series, he looked great. It sucks that he had a great series and we still took the loss, but it is what it is. But then we go into a matchup against West Texas. And I think that West Texas is ranked nationally at the D2 level. I think they're 23rd or 24th, something like that. But they're ranked. And don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. I didn't have time to look that up. But West Texas is a good team. Put it like that. They're a really good team. And we had our guy Felix come in, and just like the last game that he came out in, he did more than you could ask for, especially against an opponent like this. He threw 8 innings. This was a 9-inning game, so he almost had a complete game. Only allowed 3 runs against a nationally ranked D2 team on 8 hits, no walks, and 8 strikeouts. That's a great game.
That's a great game.
That's a great game. You can't ask for much more than that.
Can't.
The defense played solid. We had no errors. And what I can say is that watching this game, what little I could watch, it was honestly just an all-around good game of baseball. It's just like this is a game this is how it's played. This is
Both teams competitive.
Both teams competitive.
Yes.
Nobody's making errors. Guys are moving runners over, getting guys in. But what I will say is our best opportunity was in the top of the 7th. We had 2 walks off tops. So runners on first and second, no outs. In any situation like this, you're bunting the ball because you want to move your runners over and then give your next guy up an opportunity to score him by either getting a hit or you can hit a deep fly ball. The runner on third can tag and score. Now you got a tie ball game. I don't think we did try. Now, I could be wrong, but in the stat sheet, it didn't say that there was a bunt attempt. Looked like we just went up there and we were swinging away. Now, I'm sorry if I'm wrong on that. If y'all did try to bunt, great. And we didn't get it down, sucks. But there were other opportunities in this game where I could see that we tried to bunt, and it just didn't work out. But in those opportunities, we were trying to bunt with 1 out, which is okay. That's fine. Trying to bunt with 1 out, try to get some things going, and then we could never get the guy in from third after we bunted him over. So my thing is, you've been trying it all game. This is the biggest opportunity right here for you to try because you got no outs. You got no outs. If he gets out, it's fine. You got runners on second and third with 1 out and 2 outs to go. But I don't know what happened. We ended up not doing it, and we had some big hits. They had a 2-run home run. We had a solo home run from Samuel, and we both scratched another run across. We ended up losing this game, 3-2. So it's a tough loss, but it's a
great game of baseball.
Great game of baseball. It was a great game of baseball. Man, I want to talk about it a little bit more, but I need to go ahead and go on to softball. Softball had a series against Southwest as well, and they won both of those games. So they won the series 2-0. They won game 1 8-2, and they won game 2 13-5. Addie did very well on the mound in game 1. She had a very controlled game. As a team, still had a couple errors. Nothing detrimental, though. Offensively, we were hitting the ball very well. We scored more than enough runs, though. Like I said, we had some early defensive mishaps in game 2. And Southwest came out with a little bit of energy. They scored 4 runs on 4 hits early in game 2. But then we had a pitching change early in the 2nd inning, and Erin Trevino came in, and she held it down the rest of the way, only allowing 1 hit. So what I will say about this team is we had some great situational hitting. Absidy had a 2 RBI double, bottom of the 2nd. It was 3-5. Michaela with 2 outs comes up, RBI double, bottom of the 4th. Now it's 5-5. Brooklyn tripled. Then an RBI single by Amber took the lead for us at the bottom of the 5th. And from there, it was smooth sailing for us because in that inning, we scored like 8 more runs, and that was the end of the game. So we run ruled them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They blew up. So, like I said, 13-5 from 6-5. So we scored a bunch of runs in 1 inning, and that was the end of the game. So we got girls that are hitting really well. I think our downfall right now is that we have too many errors at points in the game. When we don't need it. When you can't have it. And on top of that, pitching-wise, I feel like we give up a lot of good looks. I think, but, sometimes it's up to the umpire. You know what I'm saying? If he's not giving you, if he's not giving you the black, if he's not giving you the corner, sometimes you got to plate it. Sometimes you got to throw it over the plate just to get the strike, and they weren't missing. So that's what happened for us as we went into the series against Dallas Christian. But what I want to talk about before we go into that is Brooklyn had a really good series against Southwest. She was 4 for 8 with 6 RBIs. She's in the 3-4 hole, so that's what you want from the 3-4 hole. You want somebody that's going to get in the runs that are ahead of them, and she did just that. Batting .500 over that series with 6 RBIs, and then Absidy was 3 for 5 with 4 RBIs, so she's doing her job as well.
Big shout out to you.
Exactly. And then they had a matchup against Dallas Christian. Last year we swept them. This year we got swept. 13-7 and 14-6. Biggest thing here though is a series of losses due to big innings. Game 1, they had a 7 spot in the 5th inning of game 1. A 7 spot. 7 runs in 1 inning. So that late in the game is hard to come back from. So we ended up losing that one. And then 2 6 spots in the 3rd and 4th inning of game 2. So 6 and then 6. So that's 12 runs in just 2 innings. That's really hard to come back from. We ended up not winning at all. We hit well. We've been hitting well. But having to answer to big innings like that, it's a tall task.
Mm-hmm.
You're just not gonna get it done like that.
And then you gotta scratch and claw your way back.
You do.
And it's like, it's not like a happy moment whenever you score. It's like, now we gotta do it again, and again, and again.
I'm gonna try to wrap this one up, y'all, but I can't cut these girls off. Beach volleyball had their first tournament this week. I'm gonna try to make it quick so we can go ahead and call this one quits. But beach volleyball. Let me tell y'all a couple of rules to break down this thing so y'all can understand what I'm talking about. In beach volleyball, is 5 teams of 2 and head-to-head. And then there's the best of 3 and games to 21, and the game 3, if necessary, plays to 15, just like they would in regular volleyball. Teams we played: Vanguard, defending champs, 2024. They're not ranked. Crazy. Anywho,
that's weird.
yeah,
Right.
As the defending champs, how you not ranked? But anywho, and then the second-ranked team in the nation right now, Arizona Christian, and then we played Benedictine Mesa. We had a matchup against Vanguard, which we lost 4-1, but we did, as you can see, 4-1. That means we took a match. So we got our first win individually of beach volleyball history from Jordan. And let me get this name correct because I'm not going to say it wrong. It's a historical moment.
You better
know
not mess this up.
I'm not going to mess it up. It's a historical moment, my boy. I'm not going to say Jordan's last name, though. I promise you I'm not saying that. Jordan and Denise were the 2 that got our first win on the board for beach volleyball here at Wayland. So their names are going to go down in history. So props to y'all for getting the first win for us.
Shout out to y'all.
Exactly. They won 21-18, and then they lost the second one 9-21, and then they went into their third match and won 15-6. So they handled their business. Then we faced off against Arizona Christian, and we did not fare well against them. We lost 5-0. So none of our girls were able to win in their head-to-heads. But then we went into the next day. Well, that was the next day. And then we went into the next match, against Benedictine Mesa. And we got our first win as a team in the history of beach volleyball in their first little tournament. So big shout out to y'all.
Great to see.
Selma and Emily got their win 21-19. They lost the second one 15-21. They won the last one 15-8. Avery and Louisa won their match 21-15. They lost the second one 13-21, so they forced the third and won that 16-14. So it was a tight one all the way to the end. And then, of course, at the very end, I'm sorry if I say this name wrong, Lilu and Frida won their matches 21-16. Lost the second one 19-21. And this was a tie. It was 2-2. So going into the last match and going into the last set of the last match. So that's some pressure.
Pressure on.
That's some pressure. And they ended up winning 15-9. So big shout out to beach volleyball. Doing some big things. I'm glad to see that y'all got y'all's first win and y'all can move on from there. And honestly, they competed with some of the best teams in the nation. So that's
if that's the ceiling of competition.
That's the ceiling. We're really good.
Doing good.
We're really good. We're where we need to be. All right, I'm getting to these upcoming games. Close it out. Men's basketball and women's basketball have a matchup against College of the Ozarks on Thursday. They're away. On Friday, we got track and field going back to Texas Tech again, and then baseball will be here, but not at 3 and 5 on the schedule. It says 3 and 5, but they will be at 1 and 3 on Friday, and then on Saturday, baseball has another doubleheader at 11 and 1 on the schedule. It says 12 and 2, I believe, and then softball has a matchup as well. So I don't know if we're gonna be able to cover all of that because they playing at the same time, but we'll figure it out, man. Softball is at 12 and 2 as well, so almost the same times. But that's all we got for y'all this week.
Saturday basketball.
Saturday. Oh, thank you. Saturday, basketball has away matchups against John Brown as well. So those are 2 last way matchups before they come back home. That's all we got for y'all this week. We'll see y'all same time next week.